Sometimes a customer will bring something in with a question and it ends up being such a great visual example that I've just got to show you. So she wanted to know what was happening to her Bermuda grass, and she said it's really slow to green up this spring and it's got some weird stuff going on with it. So she brought in some really good samples in this bag, and I want to lay them out here and show you what's going on. Okay, so here's what she brought me, and I'm really glad that she brought these samples in because it's very clear to me what's going on as soon as I saw them. Okay, so what you'll notice is we have some normal growth of the Bermuda grass here, but in these samples, especially this right here, we have what's called a witch's broom of growth. So all the grass blades are extremely stunted, and you've got tons of what would be the runners growing out from a single point like a broom. And this is a classic example of Bermuda mite damage. In fact, this right here could be in a textbook because I love that it shows the damage and the regular part of the grass right up here. Now, Bermuda mites are little tiny, almost microscopic mites that live down in the sheaths of the Bermuda grass. They live essentially where the blades of grass meet the stem of the grass. They feed on the sap of the plant, and as they are feeding, they're also injecting a toxic saliva into the plant that stunts and deforms the new growth. Now, unfortunately, this homeowner does not have a lot of options to completely eradicate the Bermuda mites because they're very resistant to most chemicals. But there are a couple of things that she can do. One of the most effective things you can do actually is just changing how you care for your lawn. So my first recommendation when someone has Bermuda mites is to scalp the lawn. So put your mower on the lowest setting possible, or have someone come over with a larger mower that can scalp it and bag those clippings. What you'll find when you scalp it is you can actually remove a lot of this damaged tissue, and in turn you're going to be removing a lot of those mites. And after you have scalped it, I would take it a step further and actually dethatch your lawn. So you could actually rent a machine that does dethatching, or you can get out there with a rake and actually do a hard rake to remove any of that undergrowth and thatch that would be underneath your Bermuda grass. Once again, your purpose here is to remove as much of the affected tissue as possible and as many of the mites as possible out of your grass. And oftentimes, if you just change your mowing and lawn care strategy and you opt to mow your grass shorter, these mites will just kind of go away with these better practices. But if they don't, you can use a commercial grade miticide like abamectin to treat your grass, but you've got to treat it at least twice within a 14-day interval. And abamectin is pretty pricey. Now, as a side note, some researchers have found that fertilizing with too much nitrogen can actually increase the amount of mites in the grass. So make sure you do a soil test and see which nutrients you need to feed your grass with, because you don't want to end up with an excess of nitrogen in this case. And lastly, because these mites are feeding on the sap of your grass, they can make it act like it's too dry. So make sure you don't stress out your grass. So give it plenty of water, plenty of the appropriate types of fertilizer, and just kind of care for this grass a little bit better. And many times you will see that the population of the mites will be greatly reduced.